Okay, so just checking in, that is not a follow up strategy. It's an admission that you have nothing new to say, but you still want the buyer to give you their attention. The buyer already saw your last message, and moving it to the top of their inbox does not make it more valuable. So, by the end of this video, you will know how to build a 3-touch follow up sequence that adds insight, advances the buyer's thinking, and makes the meeting invitation feel like the logical next step to them and wildly valuable. But before we get to that, if you stick around to the end, I'm going to build you a super powerful follow-up sequence fully customized for your business, your product, your offering for free. You'll just click on the follow-up sequence button below and give me your URL, what you sell, who you sell it to, and the resource the lead requested that made them a lead to begin with. And if you want to make it really powerful, give me the actual resource. I will take and I will write you a set of follow-up emails. That will include ideas for resource guides that you could send to them as well as step-by-step what I would send that isn't just, hey, do you want to chat? Hey, just following up. Hey, bumping this to the top. We will send right emails for you that will actually make the buyer feel more valued, more seen, more heard, and make them want to get on the call with you. And I'll do it in 5 minutes with just 4 answers to questions. So let's jump right in and let's talk about how you go about doing this. So here's the problem with the way most reps follow up when somebody requests a free resource or a guide or attends a webinar. One email rarely books a meeting, but the average sequence sends the same request in 5 different ways. They say, hey, did you see this? Any thoughts? Do you have 10 minutes? Should I close your file? All of these words, it's basically the same message said over and over again. It's saying, please respond to me because I want to sell you something. While that is persistence, it's not relevance. It doesn't add any value to the prospective buyer. It reeks of commission breath because it's all about what you want. At the other extreme, some reps refuse to follow up because they don't want to sound desperate. There is a middle ground here. Those guys send one email, hear nothing, and disappear. The other guys send so many emails that give no value. Both approaches lose good conversations, right? The first follow-up doesn't need to win the deal. It needs to earn the right to send the next useful thing. And that's the shift. Relevance comes from insights, not persistence alone. Here's the 3-touch sequence that I send every time somebody requests a free guide from me or attends a webinar. Touch number 1 is to extend the insight. Look, we're going to reference the resource that we already sent or the prior exchange so the buyer knows exactly why I'm reaching out. Then I'm going to add one adjacent consequence they may not have considered. So in this instance, imagine that the prospect is a sales manager and they just requested a checklist about the problem with slow lead response. A weak follow-up says, just want to make sure you received the checklist. A stronger follow-up says, hey, one thing the checklist does not cover is lead quality. Fast response helps, but if every lead gets treated the same, the teams can still spend its best time on the wrong accounts. Then give them one useful question. Do you currently prioritize leads before they reach the rep, or does each rep decide on their own, right? So I'm bringing lead scoring into lead speed. That message adds value. It also makes it easy for the buyer to respond without scheduling anything because I ended it with a question. Touch number 2 is to surface the decision path. If the buyer does not respond, don't simply repeat the question and ask the same thing. Show them the practical choices companies usually face and the trade-off between them. You might say, hey, teams usually solve this in 1 of 3 places or ways. They tighten lead qualification, they change assignment rules, they add a response time workflow. Each path fixes a different bottleneck. Then briefly explain what each path fits or when each path fits. This moves the buyer from problem awareness towards a plan. You're not forcing your product into the conversation. You're not jamming your schedule down their throat. You're helping them understand the decision process that they need to go through and that they're making. You could also explain the cost of leaving the issue unresolved without inventing dramatic numbers. If the team can't agree on which lead deserves speed, adding more leads usually creates more noise than just pipeline, right? And so this is credible because it connects the current problem to a practical consequence. Now, touch 3 is to invite, not demand. The meeting invitation should appear only after you've created enough context for the buyer to understand what the conversation would accomplish. Don't say, do you have 30 minutes for a demo? Say, if it would help, I can walk through these 3 paths with you and help you identify which bottleneck is most likely in your process. We can narrow it down with a few questions. You see, that invitation is specific. It's connected to the issue. It offers a useful income whether the buyer is ready to purchase or not. You become the useful guide, the helpful guide. The meeting is not a trapdoor to your pitch. It's the next logical step for them in resolving the problem. You probably don't have time to write all of this, and you probably aren't a marketing guru. So you ask AI, and it ends up sounding like a robot with amnesia that doesn't know anything about you. You see, generic follow-up usually happens because the AI is missing context. To personalize a sequence like this, your AI needs to know information about your company, information about the buyer's role, the original resource, the buyer's website, the previous exchange, the likely objections, the desired needs audit outcome, the tone you normally use. It needs to know you as well as you know yourself. That's the input that lets AI write amazing content for this 3-touch insight-led nurture sequence. The first message extends the insight, the second message surfaces the decision path, and the third message offers the earned invitation. If you use AI to draft this sequence, but you don't want to give it control to automate and walk away, you still want to review every message. Remove assumptions you can't support. Check that the language sounds like you and makes sense. Make sure the insights actually fit the buyer's situation. And stop the sequence if the buyer responds. Automation should help you remember and prepare for the next relevant touch. It should not make you ignore the human being on the other side. But more importantly, your goal isn't to follow up forever, and it's not to send the same message over and over saying, pick me, pick me, pick me, I want to talk to you. Your goal is to make every touch useful enough that the buyer either moves forward, gives you new information, or clearly signals that the issue is not a priority so you can quit bugging them. That gives you a better outcome than a string of unanswered calendar requests or here's a link, hop on my schedule. Okay, so do you want me to show you how easy and awesome this could be without you becoming a marketing expert or writing expert? Just click on the button below that says custom follow-up sequence. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to build you an amazingly powerful follow-up sequence fully customized for your business and whatever resource guide you just gave away to somebody for free. You'll give me your URL. You'll tell me what you sell, who you sell it to, and what resource the lead requested. If you really want to make it powerful, give me the actual resource they get. And I'm going to write you a set of follow-up emails that will include ideas for extra resource guides that will help you make connection with them and progress them along the buying journey to give them more value without just begging them for a call, right? This means you become a valuable resource. It makes them want to get on the call with you because you've shown that you're actually paying attention to them, their challenge, their problem, their concerns, their buying pathway, or their solution pathway, and you're offering to help them, guide them through making the plan to solve the problem. I'm guessing part of that plan will be how your product or service can make that problem go away. But you want to be the person they're getting on the phone with as their helpful guide. So hit the button, answer the questions, and watch the magic happen.